I'm John.
And we are here to talk about Split the Difference. But before we start, John has exciting news.
Not yet. So last week's book was How We Love, and got a lot of good feedback. So that was very interesting. I know a couple people bought the book even, and others expressed some interest on wanting to. So that was really important. And it was just good to hear because that's really why we're doing what we're doing. So that was exciting to hear. But put all the names in, and even the ones that had trouble commenting on the YouTube channel. So we put them in the random generator, and this week's winner was Amy. So, yeah, my sister Amy.
Go ahead. I was going to say the last name.
Oh, Amy Mathewson. So Amy just let us know. I'd love to get you a hard copy of the book, or listen to it, or the Kindle version. But yeah, excited to get that to you. And it was a really good book, so don't miss last week's. This week's, we're going to really try and shorten it up some. It was a fun book. I'll let Joe talk a little bit more about it. But so we're going to try and condense it a little bit more and make it a little easier to swallow this week.
Yes, so Never Split the Difference. It was actually really fun to listen to, which I don't know if that's what the author really intended for, but the way that he wrote it was very, you were just excited to hear the next sentence. He's a very good writer, and he is a hostage negotiator from the FBI, and to hear the stories about how they were working with these criminals that are trying to rob a bank or kidnap a person for money, and it was just really amazing how he was able to take those situations and turn it into business. This is kind of funny, or even business to the home, to take those situations and add it to the home, which I have actually been able to do. So it was neat to see the twist in that.
Yeah, so written by Chris Voss, who, like Joe said, was an ex-FBI hostage negotiator. And if that doesn't do anything for you, if that doesn't excite you enough, which is pretty cool, it's a lot about the psychology behind why people do what they do. And so that's really where he brings and draws out a lot of the applications. It's not necessarily a tutorial on how to go have your own hostage negotiation, although it would probably help if you read this book, I guess. But, one of the things in the title of the book, Never Split the Difference, he talks about how, in the very early stages of any negotiating or hostage negotiating, their philosophy was always, you meet in the middle, right? So you have this person that's totally on this side, and this person in any negotiation, and this person totally on this side, and it just reasons that you meet in the middle. Well, it doesn't always make sense. If somebody's held hostage, sometimes meeting in the middle doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. I like how he says the story about a man wanted to wear brown shoes, but the wife wanted him to wear black shoes. Right. So they met in the middle, and he wore one black shoe and one brown shoe.
Right, which is the worst outcome if you would just wear both brown or both black. And obviously that's a silly example, but on a much broader scale, it doesn't always make sense. And most of the time, actually, it doesn't make sense to just split the difference. And so that's really where he starts drawing in and pulling out some of the conclusions that they learned through the negotiations and stuff that they had been through. And, one thing in the book, so every chapter he usually highlights one story or one negotiation. So it's really good. And like Joe said, it's very entertaining. It's fun to listen to it, or it's a fun read just to hear about the different stories that we don't hear. Maybe we saw it in the news or something, but you don't hear the background of it a little bit. So, Joe, what's something else that maybe stuck out to you in the book?
Okay, I'm going to jump to my favorite thing from this book. He calls it the late night FM DJ voice.
Wait a minute. Before she says what it is, you got to hear her just use her late night DJ voice.
It's bad. I need to work on it, but
This is it. Here it is with talking to Grace. Okay, Grace has to take a nap. Here's the late night DJ voice.
No. There's more backstory to this DJ voice.
Yeah, but they can't hear you yet.
Oh man. Oh no. Okay. Grace, you will try to go to sleep.
Beautiful.
I know.
Okay,
That's
now
it.
tell us about it.
All right. So I'm just gonna say how this applies to me off the bat. So for a mom, you ask your child lots of times, you gotta go to sleep, gotta go to sleep. They cry, they whine. You finally get them up there, and you're just done. You're like, please take a nap. You get downstairs, and they're still running around and everything. So it gets you very frustrated. It gets you kind of like angry a little bit, or it does for me. And I go up there, and my first reaction is to want to go in there and be like, Grace, go to bed, and yell and get her into bed. And it's very frustrating. But usually at that point, I remember this book, and I'll look at her, and I'll get her in bed. Grace, you will try to go to sleep. And no joke, every time it works. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I'm a full supporter of the late night DJ voice. So in this book, he's talking about how that creates calmness, but having authority, and how he used it in the book in a hostage negotiation with a bank robber. He was actually coming in with or replacing the original guy that was on the phone. So there was a bank robber, and he was talking with someone, and so he's going to come and replace him. Which you would think that would really upset the bank robber. Like, he would just get really mad and cause a problem. But the way that he approached it with that late night FM DJ voice, and it actually created calmness, and the bank robber was like okay with it, which is funny because he's actually showing he's giving that bank robber like, you have the control, but he really doesn't. Like, he had the control because he came in with that voice saying calm, but I have control.
So he gets on the phone, and he's like, Mr. Bank Robber,
Mr.
you
Bank
are
Robber.
going to take a nap. I want you to go to
Just like-
sleep.
Just like that. And then he did it.
No, but the whole thing behind it is just showing that you're not going to lose your cool. Nothing rocks you. You're in control of the situation, but also gives the other person authority and helps them think that they're in control. And in a lot of these situations, that's what they're trying to portray, is that the other person, look, you have the control, but while they're remaining in a higher stance and higher level of
Can I
control.
go just slightly off of the book, little side? It's so good for me to see that I'm not going straight to yelling at my children when they're frustrating me. So this way is just a healthier way to communicate with your children than just yelling. I know I make fun of it, and it's the late night DJ voice, but like, it is so much better than going in and saying and just screaming at them. So
That's good. You know, one of the things that he talked about here, and it was talked about in the last book too, is he said listening intensely is the easiest thing that we can give, and it's also a way to display empathy. And it was just very interesting. You know, empathy is a real buzzword right now, I feel like, but to hear it, how it plays into even a hostage negotiation, that in your listening to what the person is saying, right, and is you displaying empathy. And I think a lot of us just listen. If we're not careful, we'll just listen to respond and give somebody our answer. We want to listen for just a few seconds and then say, oh, well, what about this? And we didn't really listen to understand what the other person was saying. And that's a lot of what he talks about here, how he just communicates with these hostage takers and just gets them to keep talking. And he's really listening for just subtle clues, and not just listening to give them a response. You know, yeah, okay, let's meet in the middle. But it's listening to say, okay, what do they really want? You know, they didn't really want to just take somebody. You know, there's something at the core that they want, and what is that? And it's not just money, but why do they want the money? And really understanding at the core of them what they really want. And I think that's something that in every relationship, every communication is just so important. If we can display empathy And if we can just listen to people, that's one of the best gifts that we can give anybody, and it doesn't cost us anything.
Another thing that I love that he talks about, and I really could use it in my life, was asking how instead of why. So when a problem comes up, or for instance, in a story, the guy who's holding the ransom would say he wanted this amount of money, and he would come back with, how can I get that to you? How? And so throwing that back at the kidnapper, that would create the kidnapper to think about it, and that would create more time, which is what they really needed. So how do we apply that to today? Before I say that, it's like, instead of saying why, like, why do you need it? That can create friction between the two. So like if you were to go to a coworker or a boss, when they ask you to do something, you say, why do you need that? Well, you're going to get a little bit attitude to it,
right.
Like, because I told you,
right.
Or you even say it to a friend or a family member, you say, why? You'll get almost the same reaction, even though it's a friend or a coworker. So instead of, if it is an actual thing where it is hard for you to do, or you are backed up with so many other things, instead of saying why, you ask, how am I supposed to do that? You're throwing it's kind of like you're throwing the ball in their court without really throwing it. It's still in your court, but it's given.
Well, it's aligning yourself, right?
Yeah.
So and that's what he tries to do in this situation. And he says, okay, you want, Mr. Hostage Taker, you want $5 million in the next 3 hours. How is that even how am I going to do that? I've got to do this, this, and this. How can we go about by doing this? And then immediately it aligns the other person to their side, to where now they're trying to help you solve that goal.
Yes.
And you're aligning themselves together. And he goes, and in the book, we could talk a lot about it, but get the book and read it. But he applies it to even your work areas, to where you have a boss or somebody that just keeps putting stuff on you, and you want to be a good employee, you want to be a good person, you keep taking on, and at some point stuff starts dropping, and then you look bad because you kept taking on things. And he gives you a couple real practical things and saying, hey, Mr. Boss, how would you like me to do this? I've got a couple things that I'm really supposed to be doing at the same time. How can I squeeze this in and get this done for you as well?
And in the book, he does have stories of students of his that have used that.
Yeah.
So not only is this book about hostage negotiations, but it's actually about situations where students have been in with work or other things that they've used it, so you can hear stories how it's actually helped people. That's kind of cool too.
That's good. And then the last thing, he talks about in chapter 10 is he calls it the Black Swan. And what he means by that, and that's actually the name, he has a company named that. And to sum it all up, there's a lot to it, but the statement that it's, I find myself saying a lot is, you don't know what you don't know. And he talks about a few key situations where they went into with a certain belief that this and this happened, and this hostage taker gave him a deadline that he was going to execute somebody on, but never happens. They never follow through on it. It's always just so they can get something. And then this guy just completely, blew away everything that they thought they knew, and broke the protocol, broke everything that they thought, and ended up killing a lot of people. But it completely caught him blindsided. And he calls that the Black Swan. And what he means by that is, usually when something just doesn't feel right in a situation and things aren't making sense, usually it's because your paradigm and the way that you view and expect things to happen is off. And you see that this is supposed to happen, this is supposed to happen, this is supposed to happen, and all of a sudden something starts looking a little bit different. Usually because what you're expecting, what you know or you think you know to be true, you don't really know all of it. And you maybe haven't experienced that part or this before. It's kind of like an outlier or something a little bit different. It's the black swan. So quick, back in the 17th century, they used to use this term all the time because they didn't actually know that there were black swans. So they used this term all the time until somebody went to a different.
Wait, there's black swans? No, I'm just kidding.
But I think till somebody went to a different country or something and saw one. But that was the idea behind it. And he talks about just a few clues, and really he just tries to open up your mind to, you don't know what you don't know. There's a lot out there that we don't know, and keep your mind open, and like you said it, even like expect the unexpected. I kind of laughed, but it's a good statement. But as soon as you expect the unexpected, then anyway.
Can you imagine living life expecting the unexpected?
Yeah.
That'd be rough.
There's some people probably do, but just talks about open your mind up. If you're hitting the same wall or you're hitting a brick wall all the time, or something's just not making sense, maybe it's time to take those certain glasses off that you see everything through, and see what's really going on. There may be something else happening that you're not really aware of. So those were, I think, a few of our key takeaways, and try to make it as short as possible. But it's a really good book.
Yeah, it's just like at the end of listening to it, you're like, wow, I really got something out of that, and I want to listen to it again.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I think this is the third time that I've actually listened to it now. There's just so much there that, and each time you listen to it, you pick up on something different, and you're like, oh, I can apply it this way, So it's not just that, we have really intense negotiations now.
Oh yeah, all the time.
But no, it's a good book. So hope everybody enjoyed that. So same thing, comment on our YouTube channel. We appreciate all the feedback, and let us know your feedback. Maybe something stuck out to you, or maybe it was a little weird of a book, but we'd love to at least hear your thoughts and appreciate those that are sharing yours. It's very encouraging, and it's exciting to see other people, and what they get out of it or what they hear as well. So, but don't forget to comment. We'll get you entered in, and we'll give this book away. And congratulations to Amy, and we'll see you guys next week.